Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I want to give my first impressions review of the Hoka Rincon 2 after a couple of runs in them. Okay, so like I mentioned, I've done 2 runs in the Hoka Rincon 2s. I did an 11K run my first run, and my second run was a 14K run, and that consisted of mostly pavement, but I did do a fair amount of trails in that run as well, and the trails were quite waterlogged and muddy, so I definitely put the Rincon through its paces in the second run. So to go over some of the basic stats on the Rincon, it has a 5mm heel to toe drop with a stack height of 29mm in the rear, 24 in the forefoot. My men's size 8.5 weighs in at 7.3 ounces or 207 grams, and that is very light for a daily trainer. The midsole, you're looking at a basic EVA foam, and it has a really nice ride to it. It's not too hard and not too soft. It's kind of a nice blend of both. The upper is very simple. Everything about this shoe is very simple and basic. The upper is just a basic mesh, seems to breathe quite well. I haven't worn it in really hot conditions, but it being too hot of a shoe is not something I've read about in other reviews. Laces are super basic, super simple, seem to work well. The tongue is about of medium thickness and it isn't gusseted, but I haven't had any issues with it sliding over to one side or the other during my first 2 runs. A nice added bonus is they've put a pull tab on the Rincon. Pull tabs are always a plus in my opinion. And the insoles in the Rincon 2 are some of the thinnest insoles I've ever seen in a pair of shoes. And these insoles are glued down into the footbed. However, they can easily be removed if you need to put a different insole in or an orthotic. And now we'll move on to the outsole, and the Rincon 2, just like basically every other Hoka out there, has a nice wide base. So while this shoe offers neutral support, just because of how wide the base is, you're going to get a little bit of extra added stability. And there is very minimal rubber on the outsole of this shoe, which is a big reason why the shoe is super light for a daily trainer. So you just have rubber in all the high impact areas, and actually because I've done a little bit of trails in my first 2 runs, the areas of exposed EVA foam on my shoe are already starting to show some signs of wear. It's obviously just cosmetic, but keep that in mind. The shoe is probably going to wear down a lot faster than others just because of all of the exposed EVA foam. Next up is price. The shoe retails for $115 US or $145 Canadian, and that's a very inexpensive shoe when you consider this is a daily trainer that weighs, in my size, under 7.5 ounces. So while you might not get near the same amount of life out of a Rincon as you would compared to something like Clifton or even like an Asics Nimbus, because this shoe is relatively inexpensive, you could look at it as your dollar per run is getting you just as far as investing in something like a Nimbus. Okay, so what are my thoughts after 2 runs in this shoe? I really like this shoe. This shoe is probably one of the most simple, basic shoes I've reviewed in a very long time. There's really nothing special about this shoe. It has a very basic upper. It doesn't feature anything special in the midsole, doesn't have a carbon fiber plate or anything like that. It's relatively inexpensive, and I think as far as a basic and simple shoe, Hoka really knocked it out of the park with this one. I've only done 2 runs in this shoe, but when I compare this to the Hoka Clifton, which I had reviewed a little bit earlier, I love the Rincon 2 so much more than I like the Clifton. The Clifton I actually retired after 100K. I just wasn't a really big fan of that shoe, and the Hoka Rincon 2s I'm definitely going to wear until they're toast. Quite a few videos back I did a tournament of all my daily trainers to see which one was the best, and I think the Hoka Rincon 2 would have made it quite far in that tournament. And how am I going to use the shoe going forward? It's going to be just a normal daily trainer for myself. So I can see myself doing easy runs, long runs, and tempo runs in this shoe. The shoe is just a great overall shoe. It won't personally be my shoe on race day. I think I would prefer maybe something like the Saucony Endorphin Pro or the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent. But if you're a runner on a budget and you want one shoe to do it all for you, be a training shoe, a speed day shoe, a race day shoe, then the Hoka Rincon could definitely be in the running. And like I mentioned earlier, I did do some trails in this shoe, and this shoe performed really bad in muddy conditions. And you just have to remember that's not what this shoe was designed for. This is mostly a pure pavement shoe, and because there is so much exposed EVA foam, you don't really want to be doing a lot of trails in the shoe. It's just going to eat away at all that exposed foam. But overall, I'm really impressed. I wish I would have added a Rincon into my rotation many months ago. And as far as what I understand, the Rincon 1 was very similar to the Rincon 2. So if you want to try out a Rincon, maybe check your local running store for a pair of the ones, because I bet they'll be discounted. And if you have a pair of Rincons, let me know down below in the comments what you think of them. And if you like my review, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.